Hey everyone, welcome back to Chat and Chat. My name is Josh.
My name is Miguel.
And we are watching the Lunchbox. This is part 2. So if you didn't watch part 1, then you can go check that out by clicking the playlist link that is in the description below this video. And then you can join us back here. And as a reminder, this is our executive producer, Patreon member, Beautiful Mess. So thank you so much for requesting this movie. And that's why we're watching it. And if you too want to become an executive producer, you can go over to our Patreon page as well and find early access and watch-alongs and members polls, all that sort of stuff. और अगर अब तक नहीं किया, subscribe करो, share करो और like button पर थप्पड़ मारो.
हमेशा कहते हैं कि कभी-कभी गलत ट्रेन भी सही जगह पहुंचा देती है.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true.
She's a wise woman.
हाँ मतलब बनात. लेकिन मेरी अम्मी हमेशा कहती हैं ये बोलने में वजन आता है, ऐसा अच्छा लगता है.
Oh, fantasizing now, listening to Bhutan radio station and everything. I think you better slow down a little bit.
हम एक साथ भूटान कैसे जा सकते हैं? मुझे आपका नाम भी नहीं पता.
Oh, that's right. This entire time he's known her name, but not the other way around. Send your biodata.
Maybe Seema from Mumbai can do an introduction.
क्या बात है सर, आज तो बड़े खिल रहे हैं. क्या बात है, क्या बात है.
He's just happy.
सब पता 10 साल कम लग रही है आपकी एज. टचवुड.
Touchwood. I got it. He checked for the...
How is it?
I love this.
Variety.
Right, sir.
That's interesting because the double is like the wrong train, but got to the right person.
Mm-hmm.
साजन पिक्चर का कैसेट है क्या? इसके गाने अच्छे थे ना?
हाँ, ठीक है.
सुने क्या?
अभी?
हाँ.
Was she a DJ?
Anti-DJ, putting down the tracks.
Dropping some beats.
Mm-hmm. There she be. Per the downstairs neighbor, requester. Oh, making some chai. He's a young man, he's refreshed, he's reinvigorated. He's living on the wild.
CD या MP3 प्लेयर का तो उन्होंने नाम भी नहीं सुना. कैसेट शायद वो सुनी के लिए बनते हैं.
Oh, old school.
Yeah, really.
मगर मैंने जो लिखा है, मैं आपको मिलकर बताना चाहती हूँ. मुझे लगता है अब हमें मिल लेना चाहिए.
Oh, take it to the next level.
मेरा फेवरेट. कल वहाँ मिले. 1 बजे. Ila.
That might be tough with work.
Butterflies in his stomach, as well as nerves, as well as...
Yeah, but knowing that what they're doing, you know, is it right?
Yeah.
He feels maybe he's doing something wrong.
But I think she's kind of been very upfront with him about what's going on. Where's his friend? He hasn't arrived yet.
Can you eat at your desk?
May I come in, sir? Come on.
Uh-oh. Was he skimming? Was he doing something illegal? Some errors?
All the pay orders are wrong. Jake's initials are all over the place. And to think that I was going to have this man replace you.
Bad training.
And you have not made one single mistake.
You know I would not defend anyone, sir.
He uses his bad reputation for good.
And one more thing.
Why do these files all smell of vegetables?
Yeah.
Potatoes, even garlic.
Really?
Smell it. Smell it.
Because he uses his folder to cut his veggies on. Yeah, maybe
I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
Yeah, because on the train, he uses that for his tabletop.
थैंक यू सर, आपने बचा दिया मुझे.
Don't you ever cut your bloody vegetables on the office files?
सॉरी सर.
It smells like potatoes and onions.
आप हो ना, आप सिखाओगे मुझे. I'm sorry सर, लेकिन आप सिखाओगे मुझे.
Yeah, he hasn't taught him anything.
साहब मेरे साथ घर चलिए ना सर डिनर के लिए. पसंद बनाए हैं सर मैंने. सर प्लीज.
He did promise.
सर चल लेना आप मेरे साथ.
Dude, he's got to stay up all night fixing your mistakes.
मतलब सर ये देख लीजिए कि 1984 के लास्ट वर्ल्ड कप में तो भी थोड़ा सा बिल्कुल राजकपूर मुगले आजम के
83? 84.
मेरा मैसेज गुजर गया, ऑफ हो गया.
It's like
लेकिन मेरा
someone
girlfriend
say
है.
something.
आपकी
Sure, why not?
हाँ.
Really?
नाम क्या है उनका?
Dude.
आप लोग की शादी कब हुआ?
कभी कभी तो ऐसा लगता है जैसे 35 साल गुजर गए. कभी कभी लगता है कल ही हुई है. आप खाइए ना सर, थोड़े कोफ्ते ले लीजिए आप.
Didn't really answer the question though.
सर आपसे कुछ पूछना चाहता हूँ.
हाँ, हाँ पूछो.
Do you think they're not married?
अभी आप पूछ रहे थे ना कि आप लोगों की शादी कब हुई. एक्चुअली इसके अब्बा ने मना कर दिया.
Oh.
मैं किसी को बोलेगा नहीं.
नहीं नहीं, वो बात नहीं है. मतलब अब्बा भी मान गए हैं.
Oh.
इनकी तरफ से ना पूरी की पूरी फौज आएगी. मतलब चाचा चाची
Oh.
बीवी शौहर सब के सब लोग हैं. पूरा कुनबा आएगा सर इनकी तरफ से.
But no one for him.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
वेलकम.
थैंक यू सो मच सर.
Oh, he's a welcome.
बॉस को बोल के तुमको मेरा असिस्टेंट बना लेता हूँ.
Oh no.
मतलब ये तो कमाल की न्यूज़ है सर. सर इसके अब्बा को मत बताना क्योंकि नहीं तो स्कूटर वापस ले लेंगे.
Yeah, dude. Okay. He's happy for you and still wants that scooter for sure.
Well, he's hoping that he doesn't have to take the bus every single day.
Right? Yeah. But all those vegetables won't get chopped.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe he'll figure out a way to drive and shop.
Is today the day? He's looking sharp, clean shaven.
Second look. Glasses on or no glasses. Oh, he's just double checking, making sure that shave is smooth as a baby's bottom. Got a little razor burn.
अंकल आप बैठिए ना प्लीज.
और मैं
जी अंकल आप ही से करें.
Oh no.
No, they're making him feel old.
Yep. And he knows, see, and I think he's gonna back out. Everything just feels off.
Oh, I get it now, the train.
What about the pay orders?
I solve it.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
I think maybe it was about taking an early day.
There's not one for him.
No, because they're supposed to meet for lunch.
Oh.
And I think he's gonna stand her up.
I hope he doesn't.
मैडम आप कुछ लेंगी?
Oh, don't stand her up.
Oh, that's why he was gonna talk to the boss.
That was very courageous on her part.
I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought she was going to back out. And I bet she spent time like worrying about what she was going to wear, all that sort of stuff too.
Yeah.
But she's got a family, even if she's not appreciating it. That's, I don't know.
I think her daughter appreciates her.
He's scared. He's like, oh crap.
He's like, it feels different.
The dude sitting next to him is like, dude, what are you doing? Don't eat here.
Wow, what
tells
a
you what she felt.
Same as it used to be after my grandfather had been in the shower. It was like my grandfather had been there.
And the Old Spice and cheese.
I don't know when I became old. Maybe it was that morning. Maybe it was
Instantaneous.
right. And then before I knew it, no one buys yesterday's lottery ticket, Ila.
Oh, that was bleak.
There you were, fidgeting with your purse, drinking all that water.
So he went and saw her.
Not fair.
And I want to thank you for that.
Wow. That, in a way, might make her feel pretty good because someone is like admiring her from afar, even though it's from afar. God, that's gotta be crushing. How do you just stand there and watch?
लड़के वाले आप लोग लैब पे आ जाइए.
That's it. This is it. Photographer's making it feel awkward. Stop. Made it work.
Gotta fix that composition.
अजीब सा लग रहा है, ऐसा लग रहा है सूखा सा पड़ गया पूरे से.
He really wants him to stay because he's feeling he's kind of the only family that he has, and he's like, okay, so. It's the small things in life that sometimes for others we never
Be
notice.
a good husband.
Thank you very much, sir.
He's doing what he needs to do to make his life as complete as possible, even when there are things he has no control over.
And with the smoking again. It's like giving up.
Yeah,
Giving up on that dream and
yeah. Her father passed.
it's hard, but it sounded like he was in a lot of pain. And by her stories about him. Yeah, when you spend so much of your life taking care of somebody and they're gone, that's like the meaning of your life.
वो पुरानी मैटिडोर कौन से रंग की आई थी?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
People handle death in so many different ways.
जो एड्रेस मैंने दिया वो एड्रेस पे नहीं जा रहा है कुछ दिन से.
वो एड्रेस पे जाता है ना.
अरे नहीं जाता है.
अरे वो हरवत वाला आया था ना.
अरे
Right.
वो जा रहा है वो खा रहा है.
इतना हरवत वाला आया था. वो लोग ने इधर इतना बम्बई में टिफिन देखा. वो तो कभी टिफिन वाले का गलत नहीं हुआ. ना बोलता है गलत हुआ.
जिस बिल्डिंग में जाता है मुझे उस बिल्डिंग का एड्रेस चाहिए. चलिए.
Oh, she is like, I'm getting to the bottom of this. Over it. Oh my gosh. And with her daughter too. She gonna confront him at work? She knows his name.
but it's not him.
तो कहाँ मिलेंगे?
नासिक नासिक चलेंगे.
He must have left contact info though. Regrets? I don't know. What is he feeling?
Maybe he's feeling, this is not what I want. This is not what I want.
Getting good use out of that scooter.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ila ma'am.
She curious how he knows her name?
This is his new house, new street. You gonna start all over again? Or is he back at his house?
Good evening, Mr. Fernandez. We thought that you're gone.
I was gone, but I came back.
Why?
I missed you guys.
Why?
Anybody's class. Okay? Take it.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Come on, Calvin. Come on, Calvin.
It's a big change.
Oh, wow.
पता है ना, आज मैंने तेरे अंकल का पंखा साफ किया. चलता हुआ पंखा साफ किया मैंने.
What? That's scary.
My mind is running wild thinking, how did she do that? He misses that connection and having others around him.
Go.
She didn't look both ways.
भूटान में 5 के बराबर है. कुछ टाइम तक शायद चल जाएगा. और उसके बाद
He's backtracking it.
मैंने कहीं पढ़ा था. कभी-कभी गलत ट्रेन भी सही जगह पहुंचा देती है.
Even from her side.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy. Oh, that's kind of dangerous game though. Like, what if her husband took the day off or something? I mean, that is a little risky. Oof. Ooh. Okay. That's all she wrote.
Oh, man.
All right, so this is going to be interesting. So first, let's just talk about what do you think happens next?
Okay, he obviously was going back with him on the train.
100%,
So
yeah.
he's going to go with the one that has his particular one and go to
Yeah, backtracing it.
backtracing it
where
to
it
her
came from,
house.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many possibilities at that point. I mean, does
Yeah.
he say, come away with me, bring your daughter and
In
come
your
away?
opinion, I know there's tons of possibilities. They left it completely open, but in your opinion, what happens next?
I think she's going to go with him.
Okay.
I really think because she said she sold the jewelry, she's got money, she's ready to do it.
Oh, she sold the jewelry?
Yeah, that's what she said in her note. So that I think that she was ready to go. She was ready to leave because the train she was on was not going to the right place. So, and I think that the connection that you know this whole thing with trains and everything actually came in very interesting on this. So I think that she was going to go with him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship.
I don't think
it
so.
could just be, well, they definitely intended it to be a romantic relationship. Otherwise, why would he care if he's older than her or not, right? So it was definitely based on a romantic relationship, especially when he wrote, "Will you go away with me?" Like they were going to elope together. And then also Sheikh, he saw that, you know, he went and did all this and still made a life for himself despite what people were thinking. And so for him, I mean, there's a couple things going on. Generally, in that generation, they wouldn't get remarried, right? And also that he is older than she is. So there's like two different things, you know, going on there. And especially one really big one, the elephant in the room. She's married and she has a daughter. So how would that work? You said that she would go.
Okay. Never saw the daughter and her father interact at all. Never.
Yeah. Well, he was completely like, I don't know. We don't know his situation either. It could have been something like maybe he was in love with somebody, but then in his story, he had to marry someone because of arranged marriage, right? And then so he was upset about that because we saw that in Badrinath Ki Dulhania, right? Because the older brother was just drinking every day, even though he had an awesome wife, but still like he was always remembering like what could have been, should have been, or something like that if I would have had a love marriage. I mean, the things happen. And so who knows why he was so checked out, but number one is he was checked out. He was probably having an affair. She smelled the perfume on there, so who knows? Maybe he was having an affair with who he wanted to marry. Anyway, that's getting like very speculation. But I don't know, like that's why these sort of movies, like how they end like that, it's so interesting because you put your perspective, how you felt the characters were growing through the movie and what they were thinking, what their intentions are. And then as it ends, it's like, okay, where do you go from here? How well do you know these characters and where do you think they go from here? And so for me, I think it could have been something where they talk, they meet, and they have good discussions. He helps her through certain things. I'm not necessarily maybe like running away together, but maybe something that he becomes like a shoulder for her to lean on and in tough times. And who knows, maybe, it goes on to the way that she's like, I want better than this. And maybe she does get a divorce. Although it seems like in her situation and where she comes from, all that sort of stuff, divorce seems very unheard of. So maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe they would have had to run away. I don't know. But it's interesting that it ended like this. And I like that whole idea of these like connections that are accidental, that like someone who needed some like spark in his life happened to get this random message in a bottle.
Yeah, and the spark worked in both ways.
Yeah.
It was a spark for each of them, but
but she was able to believe that there was something better out there for her, right? Because that's what he got her to believe. And especially when he said, look, I was at the restaurant, I saw you, you're beautiful, you're young, you have all this ahead of you, all of that. So, I mean, that had to make her feel a little good. Also, somebody loves her cooking, So,
I mean, if her cooking was that great, she should be opening up her own restaurant.
Maybe he helps her do that, you know? And then that could be a place that starts serving food to, like with all the double wallas. So I really, it's interesting that double walla is like, no, what are you talking about? Customer is not right. Like,
this can never happen. Harvard says so. I love that line. I was like, the king, Harvard.
Because so Prince Charles, so when he married, well, now he's King Charles, but when he married Camilla, he had a double walla at the wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and that they visited there in Mumbai, and then that's what he was referring to, and so that was really interesting. Yeah, but this was really tough because at the same time, I like to see marriages work out, and I believe like, okay, if it was a love marriage, there was a spark there in the beginning and you just lost it. Can you find your way back to it? But if it was not a love marriage, then it's like, sometimes I've seen them arranged marriages where it takes, it always takes two to work, whether it's love or arranged marriage. But if it's an arranged marriage, you both have to be on the same page about like, look, we have to make compromises because everything is about compromising and finding a way to work together and finding how it works for us.
Right.
And so it's maybe more talking, more communication, something like that. But I mean, we don't know the husband's way, but he was totally checked out. Like he was not interested at all, which makes me feel like, is there even a chance there? Does that, just because they got married, mean that she has to spend the rest of her life, like her mom was describing, taking care of somebody, and then it becomes medicine and this and that every single day, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't like him that much to want to do that for the rest of my life. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And I don't think there is an answer, which is why the movie ended like that, because I don't think there is a definitive answer of what you can do in that situation. And everyone's situation is super different, and you do what you think is the best to do. There's no right or wrong. And so I think that is why the movie didn't have an ending, is because it's like there is no ending.
Right.
There's no right or wrong. So we're not going to show it to you because this is a situation that we don't want to tell you what to do. Because if we show you one way, then so many people would be like, I wouldn't do that, I would do this.
Right.
So in not giving an ending, it is like the basic story of the moral of the story is that there is no right or wrong answer. Right. It is life, and you do what you can do, and you go the direction.
You find the path that works for you.
The train
that goes to take you to where you need to go. Yeah, exactly. And I do love that train analogy. We hear the train lots of places throughout, and so I just found that very interesting.
That was a cool detail.
Yeah. So
the acting was really good because I really felt that curmudgeon-y side of him where he was just like super, even when the kids were just like, oh man, this dude again, like crap. And, I thought you left. Why did you come back? Like he has a reputation, and even at work. And he's like, he used his bad reputation as like, to save that guy. He's like, look, I wouldn't vouch for anybody. You know me. I don't like people.
Well, he uses that curmudgeon thing. I think, after his wife passed, I think he used that to push everybody away from him. Okay, and I know lots of people that do that. And you know, when things get tough in their lives, and you know, whether it's death, all sorts of different reasons, they all just use whatever it is. Sometimes it's size, sometimes it's distance, sometimes it's, you know, attitude, and they just push things away. So yeah, I could see that happening, and it was just really interesting how he kept slowly but surely coming back to, I think, a better place where he was before. You know, even, I mean, and it was little examples. You know, the little girl waving at him, and suddenly, you know, it's like...
Well, it kind of clicked for him is because he's like, look, if someone's going to take a chance on me, I can take a chance on them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like you making decisions for other people. You put yourself out there, and even though you might think that you're either too old or not good enough or not good looking enough or something like that, because just like Shake's story, right? Is he's like, I'm not tall enough, I'm dark complexion, I'm an orphan, all that sort of stuff. Those are things that you put on yourself. But still, someone fell in love with him and saw through all of those things.
Saw him for who he was.
And so I think for Saajan to like see all that and be like, you know what? That is what I put on myself, but that might not be what other people see or what they might see in me. And so I think, yeah, you're right. Like we see those little things, like the girl waving at him and him seeing like this life that he didn't really get to have. And, you know, maybe he's like, yeah, now's the time I'll put myself out there because I want to take that chance.
Right.
So also one little detail that I noticed that is like super real. So I've been lectured and yelled at by my dadu so many times, and one thing is like, so Irrfan Khan, like his character, when he was like yelling at Sheikh, like he was like looking this way. He wouldn't look at him, and normally you might think that, well, that it means like almost a weakness if you can't look at somebody in the eye. But in this way, the way that they do it makes you feel even worse of being the one yelled at, because it's like, oh my gosh, they're so mad at me they can't even look at me. And he did that because normally in these movies, like you see someone and they're yelling at you and they're like, you did this, when he was yelling at him when he was like doing bad work with the books and the records and stuff, right? But he didn't look at him. He was like looking off to the side and like just staring here, and he's like, you did it, and then Shake's looking at me, and oh my gosh, that made me so stressed out because it felt like my own grandfather was like yelling at me because he wouldn't look him in the eye. And I'm like, dude, he's so angry at you, he's not even gonna look at you. But I mean, here we don't really do that. So I found that like one little tiny like interesting detail during that like that lecturing.
Yeah, some good acting there. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it felt so real. Yeah. So this is a really interesting story. Something I didn't expect at all, because these are tough subjects to deal with, you know, and it's on a backdrop of this working community that, you know, they don't have much too, right? So it's like, it's such a real world story and it feels so real. You know, we watch so many of these movies that are like these big heroes or fight scenes and action or big grandiose romance movies, right? That are larger than life. And so it's interesting sometimes to take a step back and then to actually see like a real movie like this, something that is just relatable for, I think, so many people.
Right.
You know, and it's like, this is a real situation.
Yeah, particularly those that feel as though their life has become a grind, the same routine over and over, you know, every day in, day out, it doesn't matter, it's always the same. And they feel as though, we often say it's the cage, you're in a cage and you're going around and around and doing the same things over and over again.
Hamster wheel.
Yeah, the hamster wheel. And it's interesting that I think we can all feel that, and we all have been in those where suddenly some little thing comes in and it's just, as you said, the spark that it's like, it suddenly changes the feel of the hamster wheel. That, you know, we smile, we're singing.
That wakes you up.
That wakes you up. You're still in the hamster wheel, but it's just enough of that it makes you feel good, and you know, you just are able to deal with the hamster wheel and you don't even think of it anymore. Okay, and so that can be that happens in so many ways. It could be work, it can be, you know, relationship, it can just be life, it can be your commute, you know, and so people often say weird things, you know, it's like on my commute, I now found that watching TV, you know, gives me that joy that makes the commute somewhat tolerable, you know, and things like that. And it's just interesting how you can think about how this all kind of comes together. Those little things, those little grinds, and finding the little thing that makes it tolerable in life.
And it's interesting you say that, because when I was on a commute, so when I used to live in New York, I had a crazy commute, 2.5 hours each way, right? And so 5 hours of commuting a day, you look for interesting things that make your commute interesting. And so that can be seen when he was talking, like in his letter in the very beginning, what was he talking about? He was talking about his commute. And that one time he was like, yeah, like I was on the train and then all of a sudden I felt a touch down there, and he was like, then there's this older lady that was like staring at me, smiling at me, right? And so like those little details about your commute that make something interesting or like different along along the way. And it's a weird like little detail, but then it's something that's so out of the norm that all of a sudden makes your commute different.
Yeah.
And you know, you look for those little things because that's how you get by in the everyday life. You know, it's looking for these little with things that happen. So yeah, I like that detail. So what are you gonna rate it?
I'm going to give this a 9. This is really, really good. I really enjoyed this. I thought the acting was fantastic. And there was lots of acting that, I mean, the auntie upstairs, we never saw her, never met her.
Right.
But I just have this vision of what she looks like, you know, and kudos to her on cleaning the fan without turning it off. I'm still kind of curious how she did that. And then the daughter was really good. She didn't have any lines. Well, she had a few lines, but she showed how even she's in her own little grind too, if you think about it.
Well, for me, she just made me really sad. Because she doesn't necessarily know what's going on, but there's this innocence, and you know, but she's almost so content, right? And you look at someone like that, and then you just want them, like you see someone so innocent, so pure, so gentle, and playing with this doll that's clearly older and you know has been around the block, and then you're just like,
she's well loved.
Yeah, and you're just, you want the most for her, and then her innocence just shines through.
Right.
And for me, it's just like, oh, I want you to have everything in the world because like you're so sweet and wonderful, you know, and it's like, oh man, and then just knowing that there's this dark cloud over your home, and then you see this innocence that's being like shaded by this cloud, and it's just like, man, I don't want you to be in that situation. Like, I want something better for you. So I mean, it just, every time I saw her like innocently playing with the doll and stuff, it just like really broke my heart, you know, a little bit. So I am actually, I don't usually like movies that don't have endings. I like movies that have an ending, but here it worked so well. You know, I don't think I would have liked it as much if it did have an ending. You know, maybe
an assured ending, a decisive ending.
Yeah, I don't, and that's weird for me to say because usually I will knock points off of a movie if it doesn't. I'm just like, golly, what lazy writing! You couldn't come up with something, so you just cut it right there. But here, I think it took a lot of thought to have it end there. And for that, I'm actually going to give it a 10. So I'm going to give it a 10 because the acting was really good. I thought the story was just really good because it's so relatable. You know, it's relatable, and the sound design, everything was just so real. And the auntie upstairs, I mean, it's just so real because in India, like you have this, like your neighbors become part of your family, you know, like it's like you are so close living, you are not private in your house. Like for her, like the auntie upstairs could smell her cooking and be like, hey, what are you cooking? And then even like laughing, oh, I heard you laughing, what are you laughing at? And it's like, they're so part of your life, you know, because they hear what's going on. The living quarters are so close that it's like they become part of your family. And I thought that was like really an interesting detail to show because a lot of the movies that we watch show a very different level, like class of living, right? Like where they don't really talk about living so close to somebody that they can hear you, like from the window or something, right? And you know, they're either in these houses that, oh my gosh, how do you afford that? That's so expensive. Like Friends, right? On the Friends show, they live in this apartment in New York that would cost so much money, and they would never be able to afford that. But yet nobody really talks about that. And you just watch it for the entertainment. But here, it's like it becomes part of the conversation, and I like that. So I like so much of this that was just so grounded, felt so real, and I wish there were more movies like this. Also, I thought the runtime was perfect for a movie like this. I think it was like an hour and 44 minutes or something, and I think it was just really well edited, that whatever they edited into this had a purpose and had a meaning. And I don't think that I could think of anything to cut out of this, so I thought the runtime was perfect. So I thought like everything was really clean about the movie, the editing, the acting, the sound design, the, you know, like even, you know, as you mentioned with the sound design, the train coming in and making these sort of connections with the symbolism and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I'm going to give it a 10. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm glad that this one was requested, so thank you so much for that. And
yes, our executive producer.
Yeah, a beautiful mess. And let us know what you guys thought about the movie. What would you rate it? And okay, I'm really excited. Please, in the comments, let me know how you think the movie would have ended, because that is super interesting. I want to read all of the different endings because, you know, I'm curious what everyone else thought was going to happen. And, you know,
I'm kind of curious how many people actually use the service too, if any of
them. Oh, the double ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in Mumbai, if you live in Mumbai, have you used the service before? Have you accidentally caught someone else's meal? And were there notes? Make a pen pal out of it?
I mean, actually, there could be a whole story of like how many people start just putting notes in their.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well, again, please let us know what you thought, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, sharing, our like button,